So my first question is also as a fellow VC. um, what's up with this software is eating the world and also AI is eating software? Like, where are we now?
Who knows? Who knows? But I think we live in an especially interesting time, and everyone is talking about AI disrupting everything, and I think, and of course, there's also a lot of warnings that we're living in a bubble, which I think is true.
Those huge valuations, like, come on, like, what's up with that? Like, as an early stage fund, it's getting harder to get into deals.
But even if we ignore the valuations and we ignore the day-to-day trifles of early-stage investors like you and me, I mean, nobody cares about how it goes for us. But if we look at the big picture and the amount of money that OpenAI is spending and investors are putting into OpenAI, and then they're selling these tokens at a negative gross margin, and then someone is...
But good for our portfolio founders, right?
At least so far, so good. And then like someone is buying those tokens that are sold at a negative gross margin, and then they're selling them onwards with another negative gross margin. So we are...
we might have had some news in the past weeks about that.
Indeed. So we're living in an extraordinarily interesting time because the amount of money being pumped into this system is insane. But at the same time, we have seen genuine change in consumer behavior, and like everyone is using actually these tools and getting value out of the LLMs and all of that. So it's actually not just a bubble, but it's also some tangible benefit that people is getting out of that. And then my question is that, okay, so at some point there's going to be a correction in the price of tokens and there's going to be a correction in the market. But are we going back to the way things were before, that nobody uses LLMs anymore? Obviously not, because we're already used to it and they're convenient and nice. But what does the world look like 5 years from now, after kind of all of the madness has stopped, but still we want the productivity benefits that we've already used to getting? What are the tokens that are going to stay, and what are the kind of wasteful things that are going to stop happening? And that's the exciting question for me.
Yeah, of course, I'm looking at the numbers. And we've seen like an uptick in the numbers of investment and also in like the amount that's getting into investments, also in AI. But I feel like a little bit like the trend slowed down this year.
Maybe a little bit, yeah, but still at the same time, the level of dry powder in the market is still quite high. The level of startups coming into the market, I don't have the exact numbers, but still, I mean, the deal flow is still looking pretty healthy, and so many problems can be solved today that could not be solved 3 years ago.
Yeah, like we have now new problems.
We have new problems.
Not new solutions, but maybe new problems.
But I think we also have the old problems that can be solved in new ways because these LLMs are doing things that were not possible before. Is it sustainable from a unit economics perspective? That's a completely different question. But at the same time, I think it's possible to build things that was not possible before, and it's also possible to build it faster than ever. So that is interesting on the deal flow side, that you can see stuff that is cobbled together in a short amount of time and that customers are loving.
Yes, so the customers are happy, but are we happy as investors about this?
Well, I think as always, we are going to be unhappy with a lot of our investments, but that's part of the game. If you can't handle that, then you're in the wrong industry. But hopefully there will be some genuine breakthroughs and some genuine long-lasting companies that actually change the way people work and change the way people operate and do their day-to-day, both private lives and business lives. And those will hopefully then remain for a long time and also create good returns for us as VCs.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We want them to make money for us to make some money, right?
Exactly.
Let's get into a bit of like portfolio. you have in your portfolio CE startups.
We have a good chunk.
Autologic, Bitrize, Booksy.
Yeah.
And why are you here now at How to Web? Like, of course, you're looking like to maybe meet some founders, for some sourcing, maybe just to get around of like how is it like with the ecosystem. This is your third time here at How to Web, right?
Yeah.
Tell me like what you're personally looking here at How to Web.
Well, that's a good question, because if you look at our OpenOcean portfolio, we're of course pan-European. We're based in Helsinki and London, but we've invested in all corners of Europe almost. And if you look at the kind of helicopter view, most of it has been, like 1/3 maybe has been Nordics, and 1/3 has been UK and Germany or whatever, and then the rest is all over the place. But then if you zoom into what we've done in this region, Booksy, for example, which was our first investment in this region, I mean, they have long past the 100 million ARR mark, and Bitrise, of course, is one of the leading startups in Hungary as well, and Autologic is also doing a massive disruption right now and just winning very large customer contracts all the time. So if you look at the whole portfolio, CEE is a pretty small part of that, but if you look at the successful part of the portfolio, CEE is a disproportionately large part of that. So we've noticed that there's some really good talent here, and there's a really high level ambition here, and we should be doing more of that, because we've seen that those companies actually, maybe it's not a big sample size, but it seems like we have a higher probability of success in the CEE than the rest of Europe. So kudos
yes.
for that.
As a fellow Eastern European myself, like, what are you bringing, like, from the Nordics here? Like, what's like your secret sauce that you're promised to help out the CE founders? So this is your mark to advertise yourself and your founder on this matter, because I'm guessing that you're bringing more than capital, right?
Everyone is saying that, and of course, you know, my opinion is that the most valuable thing a VC can bring is not doing damage to the startup. So that's kind of
like
a good table stakes.
how we like to say also at Underline, not stay in the way.
Exactly, which is more than you can say about some of us, and it's also you know, always difficult not to intrude where you're not supposed to. But basically, our history is in the database business. The founders of OpenOcean were the builders of MySQL, which was of course the big database unicorn in the day, and they also founded MariaDB, which is the spiritual successor and also has tens of millions of users. So due to this database background, we have a very vast network and a vast amount of knowledge specifically of the data economy and how building data software looks like. And that's also reflected then in our portfolio. So we tend to prefer companies that have some sort of data angle in one way or another in the way they build their business. And that's also where we can be the most helpful, because we know a lot of people who have built data-first companies and companies with data moats, and we're always introducing these to our portfolio companies. We're bringing our operator experience from the MySQL and MariaDB projects into our portfolio companies and all of that. So that's the specific angle that we come with. Obviously, there are a lot of good VCs in Europe. There are a lot of good VCs in this conference. I'm not saying that we are radically better than everyone else, but we have our own angle, and we're a little bit special in that way.
We need also to choose our horn, right? For the for the founders, because with good founders is also the other way around. They can also select us as investors.
Exactly,
right?
And you also notice that of course Booksy was our first investment in Poland, but whenever we talk to a founder in Poland, they will immediately call Stefan Batory and ask, are these guys reliable or not? So you know, kind of building long-lasting positive relationships with the founders is very critical, because everyone knows everyone, and if you are you're disruptive,
maybe here in Eastern Europe more, like
even more so, maybe here. So if you have a good reputation, that will help you with the future deals as well.
I will actually ask you like more of like a personal question.
Sure.
Like you as an investor, what you're looking for. Of course, I've also looked into your past deals, not only those at OpenOcean. And I see a pattern, but maybe you can tell me your pattern.
I don't know. I would love to hear what pattern you see, because I think my pattern has always been, it felt very random and very zigzaggy. And
Random might be like vertical wise.
you maybe, yeah.
But on the founder profile, I think that there's a pattern there.
What do you mean by that?
They seem to be sort of like a little bit outliers, or like they sort of like doing things not like how they seem to be doing this enterprise-wise. So I think that you really like to go beyond your experience at Nokia and see what it's like not to do it like the corporate way,
Yeah.
and see that spark in the founders. So tell me more about this.
That's a good way of thinking about it. And of course, Nokia was my first job 15 years ago when I graduated from engineering school, and it's also the largest company that I've worked for in my days, and it was very educational, and you would learn a lot of the processes and all of that. And I also did some venture capital back then, half coincidentally. But since then I've changed jobs a handful of times, and every time I've changed the job, I've changed to a smaller company. And every time I've changed to a smaller company, it's been slightly more fun. So I'd say
Right.
it's always, it increases the chaotic factor, because there's always like less structure and more chaos every time. But then again, that's also the fun part of the work, that one day you're doing a deep dive into a quantum computing company, and then the next day you need to fix the printer because nobody else can do that. So that's I think the fun and the chaos of moving into of working in smaller groups is part of the deal, and that's something maybe that's also visible when I talk to founders. You kind of need to find the right sort of hustler mentality that can get stuff done, and that's not afraid to step out of their comfort zone, and not afraid to take those tasks that perhaps nobody else in the company can do, and perhaps you can't do them either, but someone has to do them. So, and in the end, companies are always thinking about, okay, when should I hire my first salesperson? When should I hire my first product person? When should I hire my first this and that? When do I need to add C-level people into my startup? But before you do that, it's basically the founder that has to be the first salesperson, and the founder has to be the first product manager, and the founder has to be the first C-level. So you need to find the sorts of people who can have all of those hats on top of each other. And then finally,
That's the pattern that
maybe
I'm
that's the
seeing.
pattern. Maybe that's the pattern, yeah. Because in the end, even if you hire the best product manager in the world, if the founder couldn't do it before, then might be nobody can do it.
Sure. Now I want also to get more personal with you. And of course, I've seen the companies you've invested in. I've also looked into your background. And because you went smaller and smaller, like, what do you think it's like next for you?
Well,
Founder?
I don't think there's any VCs in this world that hasn't contemplated about founding a company, and of course now is also an extraordinary time from that perspective. That you
can vibe code,
because
right?
vibe coding things and experimenting is so easy, and the threshold is so low. But I can tell you a secret that all the ideas that I've contemplated and vibe code around have been terrible ideas that I would never invest in. So I think, at least for now, it's better that I stay on the investor side and try to help the people who are actually doing a good job, and then my own side projects are maybe will stay as side projects and will not become scalable businesses. But
yeah, I'm also thinking that myself, like, if I've got an idea, and that idea execution-wise would be something that we wouldn't invest at underline,
Exactly.
I say, no, next.
yeah, that's a good point. But at the same time, not every company in this world needs to be a venture case. I mean, there are so
We
many
can
great
also
companies.
bootstrap, right?
Exactly, and it doesn't need to be something massive. I mean, we need massive things because that's how our fund models work. But I respect also all the entrepreneurs who build something more stable and profitable and something that can bring food to their table. And my sister is an entrepreneur. She refurbishes furniture and all of that. So I tip my hat to every entrepreneur on this planet because it's always the brave job to do, regardless if you're going for the venture scale bets or if you're doing it to feed yourself. So there are many ways to build a company, and the way we do it is not necessarily the only way, or not even the best way.
Okay, now the last question. We finally arrived to that one. You at OpenOcean, you look at B2B, right? What do you think will be like the future of B2B, also maybe B2B sales, because it's getting harder to sell, right, to enterprises? Now in CE, from what you're seeing from your portfolio, and what are you also what you've also been hearing from other investors here in CE?
So what do I think the future of B2B will look like? I mean,
also with sales getting slower.
Sales is getting slower, it's true. But if we look at, a generic enterprise and all of the different parts of that enterprise and the amount of manual work that lives in those enterprises, it's still a lot of manual work. And it was a lot when I worked at Nokia.
So a lot of total addressable market, like we still have that
Exactly.
one, right?
The market is still there, and now, like we discussed in the last few years, I think the amount of tasks that are possible to automate has changed. And we're not yet 100% sure how much it's changed, but I think everyone agrees that there's been a big change. There will be, a correction at some point, but in the end, the way that companies work and the way that people work will be fundamentally different because automation is possible on a fundamentally different level. And I think every board member of every corporation is thinking about that okay, what are the tasks that we need to focus our people on, the thinking tasks, and what are the tasks that actually can be automated and that can be kind of sustainably outsourced kind of to the LLMs. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for that, and with UiPath and a long history of automating processes, I think there's no better place to find that knowledge and to create those workflows than here.
Also coming out of Eastern Europe, right?
Indeed, exactly.
Thank you for this, Tony, and see you around.
Thank you very much. See you.